If you need some coins to add some ballers to your team, make sure you go ahead and check out mudreserve.com. Fast service, great rates, no need to rely on pack luck. Get yourself some coins, buy the players you want, use code SPREE at checkout for 15% off.
What's going on, everybody? Hope you're all having another fantastic day today. You can call me Spree and welcome back to another video. Today is all about defense. I want to talk about the defensive scheme that I've been running for the last few weeks, maybe even last few months. We've had a ton of success in weekend league. I think this defense is super easy to learn. It is super simple. I run one play from one formation. I have the right players in the right position. We have really solid run defense that is able to shoot gaps and blow up certain runs in the backfield. We have really solid coverage, so we're able to take away pretty much anything my opponent wants to do. I definitely think this defense could help out a ton of people. If you're new to the game, this is a good starting point. You're going to learn about adjustments, zone drops, and then maybe if you're an OG, maybe you've been playing Madden for a while, this is maybe something that you can add to your toolkit, something you can turn to if you need some coverage or you're trying to blow up certain runs. Now, I'm not sure how long this video is going to go for. I could foresee it being a little bit longer than my normal ones. Down below, I will make sure to add those YouTube chapters so you can skip and choose, go into particular areas that you are interested in. You're gonna have to watch the entire video if you want to learn about personnel and abilities and how to stop the run and how to stop the pass. But I do want to make sure you can go ahead and skip to certain parts if there are certain things you want to focus on. Now, I'm going to be honest, this isn't a crazy defense. It doesn't have glitchy blitzes that are going to guarantee pressure. We're going to be talking a lot about coverage, how you can put yourself in a position to be able to get stops without sending many people. When it comes to the pass defense as well, there's not going to be any perfect answers. We're going to talk a little bit about theory, and then we'll talk about a few things with zone adjustments and zone drops and a few different ways you can stop particular formations. But overall, there's not going to be a perfect answer. I'm not going to tell you a way to be able to take everything away. We're just going to talk about ways that you can really dive into this defense and start taking away things, just trying to make life difficult for your opponent. As always, before we get into it, if you enjoy the video, if you enjoy the content, if you do find it at all helpful, definitely consider popping down, hitting that subscribe button, hitting that like button down below. But let's get into it. Let's go break down this defensive scheme that I've been running. All right, getting into it, the defense we're going to be running is out of the nickel 3-3-5. Now, for me, I like running my defense out of the 4-6 playbook. It's got a lot of other really good formations to use in the game as well. It does have another formation in nickel we'll talk about when we're looking at run D that you can audible to from nickel 3-3-5. So that's something we want to keep in mind as well. Now, just in case you're new to Ultimate Team and you're not sure how to pick up an alternate playbook, you can come to the auction house and just search for it, going for around 5k at the moment. But the slightly cheaper way is going to be coming into the training store and selecting this alternate defensive playbook fantasy pack. It's only going to cost you 250 training, and then you can go ahead and just select the 4-6 playbook. Before we start breaking down some defensive setups, I do want to talk quickly about personnel and talk about some abilities. Now, this is the team we're currently working with in Ultimate Team. The no money spent grind has been real. If you do enjoy no money spent content, definitely consider coming through and checking out some of these videos. But I don't have the best player at every single position, and for me that's not really important. As long as I put people in the right position, I know exactly what kind of stats I'm looking for, I know what kind of abilities I need. We're going to be able to put them in a position to be able to make plays. Now, in nickel 3-3-5, the reason it's been such a popular formation, you can go ahead and put your safeties in as linebackers. Now, we don't run any linebackers. All four of these guys that I have, they don't see the field. They're there for chemistry purposes on my team. We have 4 safeties, so all 4 of these guys back here, they are on the field every single snap. Having safeties out there means we have good speed. A lot of the times we have solid height. We have guys that can animate and jump for the ball. They're just going to have better coverage and be able to still make plays in the run game. I also run this defense with 4 cornerbacks. One of them I drop into safety. So we have a lot of DBs out there able to cover with good speed, able to make plays. In this defense, we only have 3 defensive linemen. Now, we're going to talk about run defense, how we can set up so we're not getting abused, even though we only have 3 guys on the line. We're going to look at ways we can shoot gaps, but it's also going to be super important to put abilities on these guys on the defensive line. Sending only 3. If you don't have abilities, your opponent's going to have all day to pick you apart. So it's important to be able to go ahead, pick the right abilities, and we'll talk about those in a little bit as well. Now, for my defensive ends, I use 2 outside linebackers, Lawrence Taylor, Ricky Jackson. Both guys have good speed, good block shed, and then with pass rushing abilities, they're able to cause some havoc. And then at defensive tackle, we've got Aaron Donald, but you can pretty much use anyone. Leroy Glover is a good budget option. You can pick him for free with your captain tokens and just build him up. This guy's a bit of a beast in the middle in this defense as well. Speaking of budget options, you don't need the best players at every position. When it comes to the corners and the safeties, I look at speed first. If they have good height, that is a bonus. Good zone coverage, hopefully hitting that 90 threshold. That's what we're trying to look for. That's what we're trying to boost up with our chemistries. But instead of someone like Ronnie Lott, Marcus May, really solid player. Adrian Amos, he's definitely a bit of a beast. Justin Reed, the scary fast player, he is another really good option at safety. Focusing a little bit on the user, I use Taylor Mays, but he is expensive. Someone like a Simmons, that would be a good investment. He's still one of the best users, even though he's been in the game since day one. Jonathan Abrams with the most recent team builders, he is a bit of a user beast as well, so you can definitely pick up good players that aren't going to be as expensive. At cornerback, I think Byron Jones and L'Jarius Sneed are two really good budget options. Sean Bunting Murphy is also another guy I'd look to pick up. All of them good speed, pretty good coverage as well. Dion is such a good coverage guy. You don't need him fully boosted up. You pick up his power up, which you can get for free from doing solos. You power it up all the way up to an 89 overall, I think it is. Great speed, great coverage, a really good budget option. The only position I can think of that you might need to spend a little bit more on are going to be your pass rushers. So obviously we have outside linebackers. We do need a certain ability that is only unlocked with a certain archetype, so speed rushers and power rushers. We're going to be looking at double or nothing in a little bit, but you need to hit 90 overall and have that third ability slot to be able to put that ability on a pass rusher. So making sure you have guys that are at least 90 overall. Guys like a Lawrence Taylor, I know he's not too expensive at the moment. You could go ahead and pick up Ricky Jackson's power up and boost him up to a 90 overall as well. So not crazy expensive, but you will have to spend a little bit to make sure you're getting the right abilities. So that's going to be the personnel you want to pick up. You don't need the best players, but as long as you have good speed, you have pretty solid zone coverage and some decent pass rushes, you're going to be able to get the job done. When it comes to abilities, I think there's only maybe 4 ability points that you need to have. The other 6 you are going to be able to use depending on how you like to play. You're going to want to put double or nothing on both of your edge rushers. Now it only costs 1 AP and it's going to give you a better chance to be able to get dominant pass rush wins. You're going to be able to get some pressure sending only 3 guys, which is super important. The ability that works quite nicely with this is defensive rally. Now I put it on Aaron Donald, and on 3rd and 4th down you're going to get an extra pass rush point to all of your defensive linemen. Now our pass rushers need those pass rush points to be able to get those dominant wins. We have our defensive tackle boosting up those pass rush points to make sure on 3rd and 4th down in particular they're able to get some pressure so you can get off the field and force turnovers. That's all I think you really need to spend. I know a lot of people like to use something like inside stuff. We don't have to worry about inside zones. We will talk about how to blow that up in the backfield when we start breaking down our defense. But when it comes to some of these other abilities, I'll talk about what I have, and that might give you some options when you run this defense. Now, I use a Taylor Mays. He is all over the field. Acrobat is crazy. You can get some crazy interception animations when you have Acrobat diving for balls that no one else would be able to do. I highly suggest Acrobat on your user. Your user needs to be everywhere on defense. They're going to be the one probably making a lot of the tackles, so being able to get those warp conservative tackles is super clutch, and that's what Secure Tackle is going to help you do. Now I have Acrobat on both of the guys that play linebacker for me, so that's Adams, that's going to be Derwin James. I wanted to see if they could animate make plays that they really shouldn't be able to make. I think it's been okay, but you could just as easily go ahead and put Acrobat on your corners. That would make them even more glitchy. And then the final ability that I use is going to be this deep in zone knockout. I have Byron Jones playing free safety. He's going to be playing the middle of the field. This ability makes him make crazy plays over the middle. If someone's trying to run those posts, he's breaking on the ball, getting picks, getting pass breakups. When your opponent's running those cover 3 beaters and you want someone that's going to be able to give you the best chance to stop them, someone like this is going to be able to do that. So it only costs 2 AP because Byron Jones is a zone archetype corner. But overall, these other abilities we're working with has been really good for me. I've been using the same ability set for the last 4 or 5 weeks, and we've had a ton of success in weekend leagues. So these are the abilities I like. Definitely some options if you want to go ahead and add some abilities to your guys. All right, finally time to jump into some setups. We are going to look at run defense first. Now, the play we're going to run out of the nickel 3-3-5 is going to be this cover 3 cloud. It has a lot of good stock rotations and zones, so we are going to base our defense out of this. All right, when you're playing run defense, there are going to be different setups depending on the formation. Now, right here, we're going against strong close. A lot of the runs are going to be to the strong side, so we know things like the off tackle, the dive, we're going to have to worry about those. My general conservative defense when I'm just trying to make sure that I'm making tackles, especially if I don't know how to shoot the gap. I'm just trying to play solid run defense and try to get all around the field with my user. I like to pinch my defense, so R1 and down on PlayStation to bring everyone down and bring our linebackers in. We bring our safeties down into the box, and then we're going to slant our defensive line to the inside. And that's what the defense is going to look like when we go ahead and let the ball be snapped. All we're trying to do is kind of just trying to find and fill gaps, trying to let our defense make plays. Now, their defense isn't anything special, but all you're trying to do is make sure they're not getting any big gains. You're trying to play smart, you're trying to play conservative, limiting them to short gains. Let's say your opponent is running the same play over and over again, and it's a defense that you don't know how to shoot the gap against. What you can go ahead and do is audible. So if we press square and then we go to the left, you'll see nickel 3-3-5 wide. Now, if we go ahead and pick that cover 2 man right there, you'll see we shift everyone over and we are in this man coverage. What I like to do is go ahead and press, so I bring all of our guys down. What we're actually going to do is go ahead and spy both of our safeties. That means they're going to be able to get involved in the run game when the ball is snapped. They're going to be jumping towards the line of scrimmage rather than dropping off into their deep zones. Against a formation like this, I like to pinch my linebacker, so that's right and then down, so that brings them in a little bit. And then with the defensive line, I like to shift them over towards where I think the ball is going to be going to. So we're going to be shifting them over like that. And then we're going to blitz our user. That way they're going to be as fast as possible. They're not going to get that stuck in the mud animation that they sometimes get. So if we let the ball be snapped this time, we should have a whole lot of guys flying to the field. You'll see I clicked off. Sometimes if you put your user in the right position, they're going to be able to make the tackle for you. Sometimes it doesn't work out so well, but that's just something you can do as well. Right there, that was only a 0, maybe a 1 yard gain. That's definitely going to be better run defense, but obviously because you have guys coming to the line of scrimmage, that is going to be more dangerous if they are able to pass. So that's something to keep an eye on. That's going to be a good way to sell out for the run. All right, so both of those were basic run defense setups. This is going to be talking about ways you can shoot the gap and be able to blow up your opponent in the backfield. Now, we've changed our play to a stretch. This is a nice heavy formation, and when we recognize this, we're definitely trying to get our defense set up in a way to be able to shoot the gap. So we're going to have the same setup as our conservative defense. So we're going to pinch our defense, we're going to crash our guys to the inside, and we're going to bring our safeties down into the box so they're involved in the run game. And when the ball is snapped, all we're trying to do is go off where the defensive end or your linebacker, depending on where the player was, and just going over and shooting that gap. It'll only take you a couple of times to get a feel for where you need to put your player, but you're going to be able to shoot this gap consistently. So we'll let it run out again. We're just going to fly around right there. And obviously, if you have a little bit faster player, they're going to be able to make that tackle in the backfield. Now, one super important thing about this setup is making sure you bring your safeties down. They're going to get targeted by the offensive line if they're in the right position. If they're not, when we go ahead and run this setup, a lot of the times you're actually going to be picked up, so you see 2 guys coming straight at the user right there. That's obviously not what we want, so make sure you're bringing your guys down. 10 yards off the line is going to be enough, just so some of the guys are going to be targeting them, and then when they snap the ball, you're going to get the chance to come in free. And obviously, someone with good hit power, more than 10, is going to be able to make that play right there. The other bit of run defense I want to cover is how to shoot the inside zone. Now, trips tight end, super popular formation. A lot of people run it. Against 3 defensive linemen, you can usually get a lot of success, which is why a lot of people run inside stuff, so you're trying to blow up that inside zone. You don't need inside stuff. You can blow this up without it, and the setup is super simple. What I like to do is shift my defensive line towards where the running back is going, so we're going to go left with the defensive line, and then from there we're going to go ahead and slant our defensive line back to the way that they just came. So that's going to be left and then right, because we want to slant to the right. We're going to blitz our user, and then we're just going to chill just behind this defensive end or linebacker, depending on who you have. And then when the ball is snapped, you're just going to come flying into this gap and shoot a mean hit stick on the running back. User placement is super important on this play. If you don't put him in the right position, you're going to be picked up by the center. So make sure you're sitting just behind that defensive end or linebacker. You're going to put yourself in the right position. Now with this setup, you're not always going to be able to shoot the gap. Sometimes the offensive line is going to pick you up, and that's okay. What you're trying to do early in the game is when they try to run it, you're trying to blow it up in the backfield. And then once that happens, your opponent's probably going to be wary of coming back and running that again. So you blow it up in the backfield a couple of times, your opponent's probably going to stay away from it, and that's all you're going to want to do. That means your opponent, if they like this formation, is going to be forced to pass the ball, and against this defense, that's what we want people to be doing. So we got picked up there, but consistently we're able to go ahead and blow that up in the backfield. So that's a couple of tips for run defense out of this formation. Some conservative defense, a really aggressive aggressive one when we move to the nickel 3-3-5 wide. And then a couple of ways you can shoot gaps against those stretches, against those inside zones to be able to make plays and put your opponent behind the chains. All right, last but definitely not least, we need to talk about pass defense. Pass coverage is super important. In this defense, you're going to have 8 guys that you can drop off into coverage, put them into zones, man them up. You're going to be able to do a lot of things with this defense, and because you have guys with abilities, you are going to be able to generate some pass rush as well. So I really like this defense. It's a good defense to be able to learn how to make adjustments. Speaking of adjustments, let's talk about zone drops first. So in coaching adjustments, you have these new things as part of Madden 21 where you can set some of your zones to drop to certain areas of the field. So if we've got a curl flat, for example, instead of dropping back to their default depth, you can go ahead and set up your curl flats to go to a particular yardage. So maybe you want to drop them to 20, 25. What I like to do, I like my curl flats at 5. We'll talk about the defense in a little bit, but essentially when I see a purple zone out there, I know they're going to come right down to the line of scrimmage, whether that's a safety or a linebacker. They're going to be coming right down and they're going to be able to try and make plays, kind of like a hard flat. Now paired with that, I like to change up my flats as well, and I like to change them to 20. This is going to be my base defense setup. We'll talk about zone adjustments when it comes to situational defense, like 3rd and long, 4th and long when you're trying to get particular stops, but generally these are the setups that I like for my zone drops. That means whenever I see a light blue zone out there on defense, I know it's going to drop back to about 20 yards. When we're trying to defend the sideline, if we have a curl flat and a flat out there, we're going to have someone coming up short trying to stop the hard flats, so any flats, any out routes. And then we're also going to have someone dropping back a little bit as well. So we can look for the deeper outs, we can look for the corners, we can look for the posts and the crosses that come from across the field as well. So this is my base setup for zone adjustments. All right, because we're in practice mode, it is a little bit more difficult to simulate how effective this can be as a defense. So we're going to be talking about a lot of theory. Now, because of zone adjustments on the left side of the field, our corner in that curl flat, he's pretty much going to come down to the line of scrimmage like a hard flat. We have a hard flat on the right, but because of our zone adjustments, we know that that is going to drop off to about 20 yards down the field. Now let's say we want both guys to be dropping back in coverage. We don't want to be attacking short. You could go ahead and adjust your corner on that side of the field into a hard flat, and you could go into something like this. But an even faster way to adjust is going ahead and changing your secondary and playing underneath. That's going to change all of those purples into hard flats. But we know because of our zone adjustments, our flats are actually going to drop off 20 yards. So if we look at the play right now, it says hard flats, but we know both of those are going to drop back. Let's say on the right side of the field, our opponent runs like a level sail concept where they have the corner and they have a flat. So if your opponent's running back goes out on the flat against this particular defense, they're going to be able to pick up a good amount of yardage. They're just going to go out there, they're going to rack the ball, and they're going to be able to get 10 to 15 yards. So maybe you want to try to take that away. What you can go ahead and do is put your linebacker into a curl flat, because we know the curl flats are going to play like hard flats. If we go and snap the ball, actually, we can watch our guy kind of run off to stop that flat, and then we had our guy over the top as well, taking away that corner. So we were able to stop that because of our adjustments, our zone adjustments. So that's something that we're going to be thinking about when we're trying to set up our pass defense. Now, a lot of the time when I come out on defense, this is actually probably going to be my stock defense. I know a lot of people like to attack the corners and the flats on the right side of the field, especially in a trips tight end look. And then we're going to make sure we're blitzing the user, so whenever our opponent goes ahead and snaps the ball, we're going to be able to move around as fast as possible. We're not going to be stuck in the mud, which is often what happens when you have a zone assignment. Let's say this is the base defense. I really like this formation because you can just do so much adjusting. Maybe someone in particular is giving you trouble, so you want to man up one of the linebackers on them, so we can go off and man up the slot maybe. You can go ahead and drop off your linebackers or your defensive ends into coverage. Let's say you want to put them into a hook zone. Maybe you want to spy one of them. Maybe you want to go ahead and put them into the flats. You can do so much with this defense. It is going to be really important that you get into it, you get a feel for it. So essentially, there is no perfect answer to every single defense. What you're going to need to do is come out and get used to adjusting. You're going to need to be able to figure out how to adjust certain position groups, bring people down to the line of scrimmage. You want to be able to make sure you can put your corner in a hard flat or a curl flat, or man up with a particular player nice and quickly. So when you come out on defense, you're not even thinking about it. You're just setting up your zones really quickly. Coming out against something like the bunch, which is super popular, I have a few base setups that I like to put out there while I'm trying to get a feel for what my opponent likes. And then once I get a good idea of what they're trying to go for, I can try adjust and take away those things from there. So base setup against bunch, I like to go ahead and have the Mabel on the right side of the field, so we have that curl flat, hard flat combo. I like to go ahead and deep half the safety over here. That way if they have any cover 3 beaters, that's the side of the field it's probably going to be attacking, so we're making sure we don't have to worry about that. And then we're just going to try and get a feel for what they like to run. Let's say they have a table route to the running back. That's going to get quite wide open, so maybe the next play after they run that, I want to go ahead and put my corner into this curl flat, which means they're going to play short, so that's going to be able to take that away. Maybe instead of doing that, I want to man up the running back so I don't have to worry about that route, and maybe I want to go ahead and put another flat out there with my linebacker so I can cover that. Maybe I need a spy because they have a mobile quarterback, so we can go ahead and add a spy for one of our defensive ends. Maybe we don't want to send too much pressure. Maybe we only want to send one guy, and maybe we just want to drop back. Maybe we can go ahead and just drop our other guy into coverage so we have a lot of guys out there. You have so many options with this particular defense. You're able to adjust, take away a bunch of things, and just get a feel for what your opponent likes and take away things from there. One of the big things about this defense, you just need reps. You need to get used to understanding the route combos that people are looking to go for. Being figure out how to stop those routes and being able to predict when those are coming is super important. That way you're going to put your defense in the right position to be able to make those plays. Some quick general setups that I like to use against pretty much any formation. If they have a strong side like a bunch does, I like to go ahead and put out the Mabel. I like being able to take away the sidelines, so the flat and the corners, making sure that my opponent isn't able to look at those and they have to attack the middle of the field, which is obviously where our user is going to be. Buying one of your guys, your defensive ends, your tackles, maybe even someone like one of your linebackers or corners, making sure you have someone covering the middle of the field. If you have linebackers at those defensive end positions, a lot of the times they will yip the ball over the middle. Any of those drags and your opponent just throws it thinking it's going to get past and your guy's not going to animate. Sometimes you can get some easy picks there when you're putting guys in spies. And probably the final tip is making sure you remember your deep half. Deep halves are going to be able to stop those cover 3 beaters that are super useful. So you can put your safeties into deep halves, or you can put your corners into deep halves. They're not going to be able to make plays on the ball like an outside third does, but you are going to stop those deep bomb plays. So a couple easy things to remember when you are running this defense. I think the last thing before we get on out of here, this video is going a little bit long, is going to be situational zone drops. Now, your opponent might be in 3rd and 20, 4th and 20. You're going to want your guys to play at certain depths. Now, you don't want your linebackers only dropping 10 yards. Maybe you want your hook zones that are going to be covering that middle of the field. Maybe you want to drop them all the way back to 20. That way you have that covered, and if your opponent throws short, you have a bunch of players in the position there to be able to make the tackle. Maybe also go ahead and put your curl flats to 20. Maybe put your flats behind them to maybe 30 yards. So if you want to take something away right at the first down marker, and then maybe take away something a little bit deeper for maybe a crosser or a deeper post, you can do that as well. In certain situations, especially when the game is on the line, you're definitely going to want to make sure you set your zone adjustments. You want to drop your guys back so they're in a position to be able to make a play on the ball, get you the stop, and get you the win. But yeah, I think that's going to be about it for today, folks. I do apologize. I think this is running a little bit long, but I hope this was a good little breakdown of a defense that has been really successful for me, that I think can be super successful for other people as well. We talked abilities, we talked personnel, we talked some really good run defense, some really good ways to shoot gaps and be able to make plays in the backfield. In terms of pass defense, I know we didn't really dive into it too much. We talked about a few plays that I like, a few adjustments that I like to do. If you do want to see more about the way I play, the adjustments that I'm making in every single game, definitely go ahead and check out my other videos. Any gameplay video, I'm always running this defense, so you are going to see some of the adjustments that I make trying to take away certain formations, so definitely keep an eye out for those. If there are any particular formations you want to learn how to take away, any particular runs from this base defense, definitely let me know down in the comment section below. I want to be able to keep helping out with these tips, these schemes, and maybe building on this particular scheme. It's something you can continue to learn and get better at. I think that'll be super useful, especially if you're still trying to get a feel for Madden 21. If you did find this video at all helpful, if you did learn something, definitely consider pop down, hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button. But yeah, thank you very much for coming through, everyone. I really do appreciate it. Take it easy. You can call me Spree, and we out.